big room, interesting. I think people will start.
I know.
So we do that slides one semester.
She just sent it to me so I can talk about it. You know what it is? It's weird slides. So maybe it's easier to just send it. Is that better?
This is all over. Similar. Yes. I figured out one thing. I'm Seattle.
Where do you live?
Charlotte.
Which part? I live by the road.
I'm right next to this daycare.
Oh, okay. Where? In the city?
Yeah, close to
So my
Hello, Redfin. There's, I mean, it's cute. The biggest Which holiday restaurant is there's a lot of
Did I just mess you up?
No, you just went out of
Oh, so by the way, and then where can I find my stuff?
this is Fireside here. It's under.
Do you want it or
No.
okay, sorry.
It's one speed. So, beautiful is another. Just, like I said,
Did everything go to Argentina? It's already different.
Argentina, South Africa, Finland, Sweden. So, both East and West are under each other. We have backpack, we all laugh at it. Yeah. I'm going to do it. Or is it better if we self-employed? We can.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with. Yeah, it would be almost very nice, especially for the market. You know, you can turn on.
Size you prefer. What you got size?
Look around at the wall. Then maybe see if we can get a couple of minutes. I got work. I got a call at 1 o'clock. Working as in agriculture. And folks will remember this. This is the other class
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear on the microphone? Does that come through your speakers? Awesome.
I think everyone's coming back from the trip, so they miss each other.
I heard, yeah, they're reuniting.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Sharing stories, gossip.
Nobody wants to reunite with you two? What's up?
Yeah, I guess
We're here together.
Just the two of you for reuniting. I mean, we have this intimate group, and yet the three in the back.
It's gonna be very
Sure you don't want to come a little closer? Welcome.
Those guys.
I was those guys in school.
Are you the messy eaters? You don't want us to see how messy you are?
Those guys at school, and now you're
just one missing.
Well, usually because I was sleeping in the back.
Well, welcome to everybody. Are we recording? Like, I don't
We
know.
are.
We are? Okay, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, excellent. So we're going to do quick introductions. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Advancing Women in Product, which is the organization that I'm representing here today. And mostly, we've got about 40 minutes that we'd love to tell you a lot, mostly about Homan and his path between entrepreneurship and venture capital. But please, let's make this interactive. I've got a whole bunch of questions, but really we just want to answer the questions that are really on your mind. So let me just give you a quick overview about Advancing Women in Product. So Advancing Women in Product is an organization, nonprofit organization, that is really focused on empowering men and women in technical fields to achieve the same opportunities in their careers and advancement through training and executive mentorship. The Advancing Women in Product organization hosts monthly meetings. You can see some of the upcoming meetings here that are planned through the end of the year. And it's always focused on helping people in product and technology roles get the skills and development that they need to be successful in their career pursuits. AWIP is super excited to partner with Wharton on executive speakers like Homan is here today with me. And then to introduce myself, my name is Hope Gurion. I was Chief Product Officer for Career Builder and SVP of Product at a company called Beachbody, a fitness and nutrition company. And today I work as a product coach and consultant for startups and growth companies. And I'll turn it over to Homan to give himself an introduction.
Great. Just briefly, so I'm currently managing partner at an early stage VC fund called Fusion Fund based in Palo Alto. We focus on companies that have some sort of technical barrier or differentiation to their business model. It just means there's something technical about the company that gives it an advantage either in the infrastructure or the product. But prior to that, I used to run my own startup company that I started in 2007 in solar cells. And prior to that, I did my PhD at Stanford in engineering and physics at Berkeley. So very technical background and somehow got to where I am today. And I think that's some of the things we'll be talking about today.
What we'd love to do is understand a little bit more about all of you. Can you just raise your hand if you're focused or interested in careers or are currently working in venture capital? Is that on the mind of some people? A few? Okay. And what about aspirations or currently in an entrepreneurial role where you're starting your own company or have plans to? Okay. And then anybody else, is it more operating roles or what didn't we cover? Strategy. Okay, got it. Okay, excellent. Well, that's helpful, and obviously that makes sense why you're here because Homan has spanned all of those roles in his career. And so to kick us off, like you just gave us a little bit of a walkthrough, but I think it would be helpful for people to know, like, how did you begin, like get your first start moving from your academic approach and what you were doing at Stanford, and then actually start out with your first job, basically being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'll say that for most of my life, I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur, let alone a VC, and yet here I am. So basically, since I was born, I was born in Indiana. I always wanted to be an astronomer for most of my life, and when I applied to colleges, was applying that route, ended up going to UC Berkeley in the astronomy program, and I just thought I was going to be a researcher in astronomy, and that was just what I was going to do. And but after my sophomore year, I did an internship at an observatory and realized, okay, I don't really want to spend my life up at 4 a.m. working by myself, things like that. Not realizing that that's kind of what you do anyways, no matter what technical field you go to. It's basically switched from astronomy to physics, which is very closely related. But then I would say by my junior, senior year, I realized everyone in physics was really smart, way smarter than me. And I was like, there's no way I can handle like this crowd in grad school, right? So, and also started realizing, I kind of like doing things that are more applied than, let's say, something theoretical, right? Discovering the Higgs boson particle. So towards the end of my career at Berkeley, I started switching a little bit to engineering, and then ended up applying to engineering grad schools for a PhD. And so I ended up going to Stanford in electrical engineering and material science. But even then, I was still always thinking, my career path is research, professorships, things like that. So went to Stanford, started working on semiconductor lasers when the fiber telecom boom was going on, and other optoelectronics. And then just realizing, after seeing how academia is run and how things are going, I discovered, maybe it's not the place for me. Still want to do something a little bit more applied, something that's more tangible, more immediately, like industry or commercial products. And so, I started thinking, okay, I'm just going to do industrial research. And then by the time I graduated Stanford in 2006, and I ended up joining a small startup doing materials research. And did that for a year and didn't feel like that was like the right thing for me. And so went back to talk to my advisor, Jim Harris at Stanford, and asked him if he knew of any good opportunities that I could potentially pursue. And he's like, actually, you know how you spend like one or 2 days in your PhD working on trying to develop a solar cell using your material that you developed for semiconductor lasers? We presented some of the results, and Forrest Basket and Robbie Viswanathan, who's a Wharton grad, they're both general partners at NEA, and they're just like, yeah, they want to talk to you about starting a company. And at the time, I had no idea who NEA was, what VC was, or anything like that. So I talked with them, and they were really trying to convince me to start a company around the research I did at Stanford. And for whatever reason, I just like, I don't want to do that. It's too much work. I hear all these horror stories about, having no live VCs, screwing entrepreneurs, things like that. So I kept telling no. And like, I don't know if you guys know who Forrest and Robbie are, but they're pretty successful. They've had several multi-billion-dollar IPOs in their portfolio. But I had no idea who I was saying no to. So after 4 months, I kind of realized, well, there's no better time in your life to do this than now. Very little responsibility, young, got a lot of energy, so ended up doing it. So we started Solar Junction, that was in 2007. After a few years, we ended up developing the world's most efficient solar cell, beat all the world records, launched some solar cells into space, installed some on the ground, and of course, during that same time, clean tech was hot, and then it crashed. So that was always a tough time. But we ended up selling the company to the private equity firm, or Sovereign Wealth Fund of Saudi Arabia. Actually, the same one that's an LP in SoftBank, and was supposedly going to take Tesla private. So sold that, stayed for a year, left in 2015, and didn't know what I was going to do after that. And so someone I knew from Stanford, my current partner at Fusion Fund, she started the fund in 2015, and we knew each other pretty well. And she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm gonna take some time off." So yeah, you come help me out part-time. So sure, I'll help you out. That was 3 months later, decided to become full-time with the firm. And never planned or ever thought I would be a VC. And so like most VCs, or I would say half of VCs, they became VC by accident. And that's kind of the general trend. You either are gunning to be a VC, or you just kind of somehow back your way into the industry. So that's kind of the story of my career.
Can you share maybe a little bit about how you met your co-founders in Solar Junction? Like, how did that team come together, and what did that teach you about how you help founding teams or created Fusion Fund?
No, so we were the two of the co-founders of the company. We were all classmates, actually in the same research group at Stanford, and so obviously, in some ways, some people would say, well, it's an obvious pairing, but at the same time, it's so important that you trust the people you're working with, particularly at a startup, and if you're being co-founders, because there's going to be a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of just crazy moments, and you gotta have full trust in the people you're working with, that you can just trust what they're doing. You have to question them. You just assume that they're going to do the right thing and that they got it. Because we've seen, as a VC now, I've seen so many companies, and the reason why a company may fail is not necessarily the product or even the market. A lot of times it's actually the founding team has issues. And when you start having issues within the founding team, you either need to fix it quick or things go very badly.
And so in your portfolio of companies today, how many of those founding teams found each other versus you've now helped create some of the executive teams?
I would say 3/4 of the companies, they already had their core founding team. Now, some of them were, they found each other more recently, but some of them, they've worked together before, they've known each other for a long time. And those are really the teams that we like to fund because we know they can work well together.
So is there a story that comes to mind for you when you think about some of the challenges you had being first-time leader of a company, first-time really working in a company, right? When you started Solar Junction, what were some of the challenges that you faced as a first-time entrepreneur?
I would say, the challenges, we just didn't know anything. Coming out of school, you don't get taught a lot of these things about how to manage people, how to run a company, particularly if my degree is in engineering, not an MBA. And so just realizing that we didn't know how to do any of these things, I think was one of the, best realizations we had. But at the same time, figuring all that out, talking to people. But I would say some of the challenges we had in the beginning were just, I think, learning how not to freak out. Because when you're starting a company, there's so many just existential crises for the company almost every day. And I think in the beginning, me and my co-founders called them like holy crap dances. Like every day we'd be just like freaking out about something. And in retrospect, they were just all minor details. But kind of as we got more experienced along with the company, there were really like serious like oh crap moments. And we were generally pretty calm. And I think that helped us get through a lot of the tough situations. And I think just the more you see, the better you get.
How did you find mentorship? Was it your board, or how did you sort of leverage experience of others to navigate all the first-time challenges?
I mean, definitely talking to our investors, they provided a lot of good insight. Of course, we were always, as an entrepreneur, you're always a little skeptical of the investors. What's their ulterior motive, blah, blah, blah. And there's always some of that. So we obviously talked to other CEOs, other founders who really had been through it before. And then obviously just in hiring people in your company, hiring people who are good and better than you, and so you can work with them and learn from them. And that's kind of, I think, one of the key things, is to always work with good people and don't be afraid of bringing on someone better than yourself.
Can you just give us a sense as to how did the company grow and scale in terms of employees and revenue and the timeline that you were on?
Yeah, so I mean, we spent the first couple of years mostly doing technology development, fundraising, and really just demonstrating that the product and technology worked. And then after we hit some pretty big milestones, that's when we started ramping up. Hired a much bigger R&D team, started hiring early semblances of manufacturing and production process. And then after that, when things were good, because we couldn't just lay off the R&D team, we kind of transitioned them into the manufacturing process. And then towards the end, that's kind of where the company was bought by the PE firm.
Who were your customers? How did you do customer development?
So for terrestrial deployments, I mean, our customers typically were either very large scale providers like Sumitomo or Siemens, or they were startups at the time as well. As the whole space was new. For the space technology, I mean, it was like NASA, L'Oreal, Boeing, the typical aerospace players. So it was a very different set of customers that we had to deal with. It was either very startup-y or super, bureaucratic defense agencies.
And did you and your co-founders, did you do all the sort of sales, business development yourselves?
Yeah, so we had to pick all that up. Obviously, we had some people who worked and focused on BD, but at the same time, we were the ones driving a lot of the efforts, and of course, a lot of people wanted to talk to us and not necessarily someone else.
And so now that you're on the VC side of the equation, what do you see as sort of similar patterns to what you faced when you were an entrepreneur, and where do you feel like you're seeing different challenges?
I mean, one belief I had early on and that I luckily got over very quickly was that, particularly being a technical founder, you think, if I have the best technology, that's good enough, right? Best technology will win, everything else just comes along for the ride. And I don't think that could be any more wrong. Having a good technology or technological advantage is important. It gives you that advantage because it's easier to have an advantage that's more defensible and more valuable than, let's say, just having a really good sales team. But at the same time, if you can't build a product, a business, and a revenue stream around that, then it doesn't matter. And so I think one of the challenges that I see, particularly since we focus on technical companies, is that technical founders who just don't understand or don't believe that when I say, hey, your technology is great, but you can't just rest on that, right? You need to build a business around that. And I think that founders who understand that very quickly have built really good businesses. And the ones who haven't have been challenged, right? They don't have a sales effort, they just keep trying to do research, and we have the best performing LiDAR component. It's like, well, it's great, but there's 100 other ones, and Ford is not looking for the best one. They're looking for the one that's going to be able to be mass produced next year, right? So there's a lot to understanding technical advantage versus technical superiority.
Well, I have many questions, but I want to open it up. Who's got a question for Homan that he can help you answer? Yeah, good.
Maybe tell us a little bit more about Fusion Fund, just from a VC perspective, because there's multiple VCs in the area. How do you kind of differentiate from a deal flow perspective?
That's a great question. Yeah, so it's funny when we were raising our funds, I was always asking advice for like, what are some things I think LPs would be interested to hear about our fund, and they say, oh, you should say that you're a technical founder, a technical background, investing in technology, and I just thought that was completely obvious, but apparently it's not. So apparently there aren't that many VCs who have a very strong technical background and technical operating background, which gives a lot of insight on how to diligence technologies and companies and how to evaluate the founders, and then also help them once you invest in them. Because like helping a technical company versus helping let's say a social media or an e-commerce company is completely different, right? Just the revenue timelines, the hiring process and things like that is all very different. So we are doing early stage technology companies, and so we like to really dig deep into technology, understand what's the advantage, and then really understand, are the founders able to take that and to make it a business, right? We've seen a lot of companies, or let's say a lot, we've seen some companies get funding from, I would say, firms that are not very technical, and I sit there and go, well, if they truly understood the technology, they would know that either it's just not possible, or that's not really a defensible advantage that they're claiming to have. And so I think it's really important to, if you invest in technology, you have to understand the technology well, and then obviously be able to help them. So because we're former entrepreneurs, we're very well connected with entrepreneurs, which is gives us a nice deal flow set. We work with and talk with a lot of labs, universities, other technical hubs, not necessarily to invest in them right away, but to keep an eye, see what's coming out, maybe help them, and if something really pops out to us, then we'll invest in them. And then we have good connections within other industry sources, and then again, because we're known as a kind of a technical firm, other firms who may be interested in a business idea but not really understand the technical aspect of it, they'll bring us in to like maybe syndicate a deal together, and we'll do the technical diligence with them and say, hey, this is good technology, let's do it together.
Other questions? Go ahead, please.
So you described your path to the VC, right, which is being an entrepreneur and a successful exit and then becoming a VC yourself. Are there other common paths you have seen to become a VC and be successful?
Yeah, so like I
Just repeat the question.
Yeah, so our question was, I took the technical to entrepreneur to VC path, and if there were any other paths that I've seen that were successful to get into VC. As I said, like I would say half of VCs got into VC by accident, and so for these people, I mean, there are several journalists who became VCs. I mean, if you're like a technical reporter, you just by nature know the markets, know the entrepreneurs, know the technologies, and so that's a very strong skill to have when you're a venture capitalist. There are others who were kind of brought in because they were domain experts, in let's say cloud or infrastructure or consumer. And so maybe they were executives at companies, and they were brought in from a firm who wanted to gain that domain experience in that area. And then of course there are people who undergrad, then became an analyst, and then went MBA, became an associate, and then moved way up the ranks. So there's definitely those two different ways of people who've all been very successful to get into VC. I would say for the people who got into VC who are purely doing it for the money, I would say that it hasn't worked out for them because there are many other ways to make money probably more easily. It's particularly for smaller firms, unless you're like an NAH Sequoia where they just have billions of dollars under management, so the management fees are just ridiculous. I mean, most VC firms are small and lean, right? So you don't really make your money on fees and such. You're making the money on the carry, and that's like a minimum 10-year investment. And so you really have to love looking at companies, meeting entrepreneurs, learning about new technologies and businesses. That's what drives VCs who are successful to be, leaders in the field.
Have you found it professionally fulfilling to transition into doing VC from being entrepreneurship? Does it scratch the same itch for you or something different, or do you see long-term even is this fulfilling for you as a career?
People have always asked me how do you like going from operating to investing, and all I can say is it is very different. I mean, when you're running a startup or you're doing research on technical aspects, I mean, you're really looking like a mile deep and an inch wide, and VC is like the exact opposite of that. I mean, you want to go deep, but you just don't have time. Like, in an afternoon when we have our pitch sessions, I'll be looking at a medical device company, then I'll be looking at an AI machine learning company, then I'm looking at a drone company, and then I'm looking at a edge 5G company. So you have to kind of be very broad. And so in terms of an intellectual stimulation, obviously that fits that very well. I mean, you're learning about so many different things. But at the same time, you just feel like you can't focus on anything because you're looking at so many different things. You got to help all your portfolio companies, Then there's the whole other aspect of VC that people don't see, which is, like just operations, fund management. We have to raise money from LPs. So it's your brain's in 10 different places. And I understand whenever I talk to my investors, it seemed like they were just always scatterbrained because we are. It's just so many things. It's also different. Like people ask if I miss operating, and I do a little bit because when you're operating a company or a team, you're working in a team all towards this common goal and effort. Whereas in a VC firm, I guess our common goal is to make money, but at the same time, like it's a very individualistic job. You're each going out to look at deals yourself. You're each meeting people. You're each doing your own research, and you're a firm, yes, but it's not like you're all working on like the same product. And then the other thing that I finally understood after doing this now for several years is that they say that you feel like you don't do anything. We're very busy, but we're not the ones building the product. We're not the ones building the business, right? So in that sense, if you're used to having something tangible that you built and you're selling it, that's one thing. But here we're investing money and of course providing support. And if you work with a company, you're helping them, but you're not the one building the product. So in that sense, it's a different itch that's not being scratched, I guess, by being a VC.
Yes, please.
How do you source these? Like, where do you find the entrepreneurs you do, or is it only by word of mouth or referrals, or maybe you go to some conferences and there you meet people, or like how do you build your pipeline of influence?
Yeah. So the question's about deal sourcing, which is one of the most important things about VC, right? And Steve Goldberg from Venrock, he had told me that look, Homan, you could be the world's best investor, but if you're only seeing the worst 50% deals, your best deal's going to be 50%. But you could be like the worst investor in the world, but see the top 50%, then you're seeing that same company. So deal sourcing is important. I mean, if you're not in the game, you can't even win the game. So for us, being early stage, many companies just aren't on any database. You can't go to like Crunchbase or PitchBook or Preprint and look these companies up. So it's for early stage, there's a lot of hustle. So as you mentioned, we go to conferences, we get referrals from investors, and for us being a technical firm, we go to technical hubs, meet people. We ask professors like, hey, anyone graduating soon or anyone drop out of school recently? Obviously keep tabs on industry, and then of course, to help be more efficient with that, there's always the inbound. But for us, outbound is very important. So, for example, I spent a lot of time the last year and a half looking at transportation, mobility, things like that. Went really deep in that area, met a lot of people. So this year, I'm looking really deeply into 5G and edge computing technologies because I think the timing is now right. It was hot 3 years ago, but I think that was too early. So now I'm talking to investors, industry partners, professors, technologists in this field to understand what are the main problems and needs that need to get solved, and what are some interesting solutions that are coming up, and who are interesting people? Who's someone who's potentially thinking about leaving and starting a company? I'm happy to talk with them just about getting some advice or helping them out. That's kind of how you have to really deal with it. There's really no one solution. It's a lot of hustle. It's obviously a lot of network. So if you're really well connected, that helps a lot too. Early stage is different than, let's say, a Series VC firm where you already know the company. It's just now it's a matter of how you can get into the deal.
This is a somewhat flippant question, but how important is it being a VC to have a proper puppy vest?
Yes, I have a uniform. The uniform is basically what I'm wearing. The Patagonia Arc'teryx vest and jacket.
Is your credibility statement?
It's funny when I show up to events and I don't wear it. I think because I look like 10 years younger than I really am. People think I'm the founder. So in some ways I show up purposely not wearing that. Just I don't want to get bombarded by requests. But it's almost like if you wear a puffy vest, you're signaling you're an investor. So if you want to become a VC, you should wear a puffy vest.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Are you far enough into your fund that you're thinking about exits?
Well, definitely. I mean, we're always thinking about exits. I actually have I have a company for my second fund that's about to go through an acquisition or a buyout. But at the same time, it's weird. Like as an early fund, we do have to demonstrate some amount of liquidity return to be able to attract future investors, right? So it's a delicate balance we have to do because you don't want to exit too early, then you're leaving money on the table. But at the same time, if you have no exits, then when you're trying to raise your next fund, the LPs are wondering, well, do you know how to exit? Because investing is one thing, but returning money is actually the hard part. And so I think it's good to have some early exits, but ultimately we don't want to have too much right now because then your multiple.
And you guys started in 15? Is that right?
The first fund was 2015. Our second fund was 2017.
Yes. Can you talk more about how do you allocate funds across multiple companies and what are the diversification strategies?
Good question. So, just more specifically, like for our second fund, our first check is on average about $1 million, and we're going to do that for about 20 to 30 companies. So, about a third of our $85 million fund will be used for that initial check, and then we're reserving 2/3 of that fund for follow-on capital. And so we would average, let's say, a 2-to-1 ratio, but in reality, of course, companies may not do well. Maybe this one's not as exciting. This one's doing super hot. So it's kind of a play by ear in terms of when your pro rata stakes and future rounds come up, how much money do you give the company? And a lot of that is gut, and a lot of that is cap table modeling. A lot of that is just future projections, and so it's definitely more a art than a science. But we consciously are reserving a lot of money in our fund to preserve our ownership stakes. I mean, other VC funds may reserve zero because they think if I buy in early, then I'll suffer the dilution through the rounds. It's a different strategy, and I would say not one strategy has shown to be the best strategy.
Do you have any specific thoughts on accelerator programs? Like, are they good or bad for founders, or is it too situational to ask?
Yeah. So the question was like my thoughts on accelerators, incubators, things like that. I have to be a little careful because they send me a lot of deals, so I don't want to say too much. But I would say there are too many, and I think it's a lot different now than it used to be, let's say 5-8 years ago, where a lot of this information that is now being distributed in accelerators and incubators is readily accessible. Whereas maybe 10 years ago, you couldn't just go on YouTube and look up how to make a pitch deck. So I think for example, what YC did in the early days was really useful. But now, I mean, everyone and their brother has an accelerator, and so I think it has to depend on like what they offer you and what they take from you, right? So if they're only giving you $100K but taking 10% of your company, you have to wonder like, is this actually useful? And then there's a little joke in VC too, where we've seen some companies where they've literally been to like 6 different accelerator programs, and you start wondering like, what are they actually doing? Are they building a business, or are they just going through accelerator programs? So I think going through one is fine in the early days, but there's so many now to find one that kind of fits the business that you're building. So for example, Alchemist is very good at B2B and enterprise, right? YC might be better. I mean, they were really good at business model innovation, but now they're trying to shift around. So I think picking the right one is really important. And of course, there are different tiers of quality, right? And so that does matter when we look at a company, like what did they do, what did they go through, which product did they do. But to be honest, a lot of the best companies don't do that. I mean, they are just in stealth, hidden, and you got to find the founder. So oddly, even though, like for example, the YC companies have a very strong cachet, the best companies don't go through any accelerator program.
Can you talk about, I always find this interesting, the balance between confidence and transparency between the founding team and their investors?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that as a founder and then as a VC?
So when I was a founder, I heard that from my investors, and I just, first thought it was a bunch of crap. You just want to know all the problems, and so you can like change out the CEO. Now I'm an investor, there's obviously always that potential ulterior motive, but at the same time, I tell my companies, look, I can't help you if you tell me the problem at the very end, and at that point it's too late. So if you at least let us know, like, what do you need help on? What is the issues? My role, particularly in early stage, is not to switch the CEO out. It's just too early to do that, and if you do that, it's just going to destroy the company. I'm on your team, and I want to make sure I can either help you or find someone who can help you. So I think transparency is really important with your early investors. And I think confidence is good, but being open to taking input, coaching, criticism is really important. And some of our best founders, I mean, they're confident, but they also know they don't know everything and are always open to hearing at least what I have to say. And then if they don't agree with me, they'll say, here's why, or here's my thoughts, or here's why I don't agree with you on what you just said.
And is that mainly through board meetings, or tell me about like what are those? How does the communication work?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, companies should have board meetings. It's a good process to go through to keep the company in line. But I always tell them the board meeting actually happens before the board meeting. And so when you're getting ready for the board meeting, you're going one-on-one with all your investors, talking about the updates, and talking about, I think, what you want to talk about at the board meeting. Because really, the board meeting should be not, here's the update. It's more like, okay, here are the main issues. What's the strategy that we should approach? And so for my companies, particularly the ones that I've led the investments, we try to keep tabs on them. We try to have a good talk at least once a month. We don't want to take up too much of the time, but even then, many of our CEOs, I mean, they'll just text me something or send me an email, just super quick. That's like a good level of communication. It's like, hey, I need some help on, let's say, hiring some ASIC engineers. Sure, okay, here's some 5 people I know, or some people who know more people.
I mean, you're relatively new in terms of funding perspective in the area. Can you talk a little bit about the business cycle and where you think we are in terms of the business cycle?
We're all trying to figure that out. I mean, people have been thinking there's going to be a correction for the last 3 years, and it hasn't happened yet. I think for the most part, many investors wouldn't mind seeing one because valuations are just so out of whack right now. But at the same time, it will hurt your portfolio companies. But most people, I think, agree that there's no reason this year or even potentially next year for there to be some massive correction. I think the thing that may trigger it this year will be some sort of, or soon will be some sort of global macro incident as opposed to, let's say, like a banking crisis or a tech crash or anything like that. So obviously there's trade war events going on, so that's always a risk, but we don't see anything that seems to indicate any sort of crash in the next year or so.
So in that way, I guess, are you seeing that you're having to overpay for, like, just from a valuation perspective?
It's challenging.
Investments you're making?
I mean, typically, so as we become more experienced entrepreneurs, our deal flow and founder exposure has gotten much better over the years, and right now we're passing on several companies because the valuations just don't make sense. I mean, purely looking at the math standpoint, if we're already losing, let's say, a 3x multiple, let's say normally we invest in companies at an 8 million valuation, now they're asking for, let's say, 20, and they're all still exiting at about the same number, we've just lost 3x multiple on that investment potentially. And as a fund, we need to return 3x our fund in 10 years. And so for an $85 million fund, we have to return, 250 million some. And if we have, let's say, an average ownership of 10%, that means total enterprise exit value has to be $2.5 billion. And, that's a lot of money. So we are passing a lot of companies for against evaluation. So we're looking a little bit more outside Silicon Valley. The valuation gap has been decreasing over time, but it's still lower. Maybe going a little earlier, or as I mentioned, if you're working with a founder earlier, maybe you can get a little discount, give them money earlier, get in at like a friends and family rate or something like that. There's a lot of change in strategy that I would say that early stage VCs are trying to figure out.
Do you find yourself competing for deals?
Oh, all the time. Someone told me if you're not losing half your deals, you're not doing it right. And we're definitely losing half our deals. Sometimes it's because
Just based on valuation asks, or just
or valuation asks, or let's say something we're seeing now is that like even the sandhill firms are going to seed because they feel like they need the multiple, they're trying to get in earlier. So let's say NEA is trying to give a check, and then there's us. I mean, of course the founder's going to go, oh, NEA. We'd rather take money from NEA, although in my opinion there's some risks in doing that because if they don't come into your A, then that's a huge signaling problem. Obviously there's other seed firms that compete with us. They may offer better valuation terms. But we don't want to compete on a valuation standpoint. We're trying to compete on like, okay, here are the things we can give to your company. Talk to any of my founders if you want to do reference checks, things like that. I mean, we have to be able to work with them, and they have to be able to work with us. I mean, there's this whole cliche thing that you're really getting married to the founder, but you really are. I mean, it's like potentially 10 years of relationship there. And I don't have to like you, but I have to professionally respect you and be able to work with you.
So to follow up, and this may be a dumb question, so are you negotiating terms on those one-off deals, or is it kind of, here's our valuation, take it or leave it?
It depends. I mean, some companies come, say, okay, we're raising $2 million on a 10 cap, and we're not negotiating. Other companies like, we're leaving it to the investor to decide that. We'll put forth what we think is a reasonable term set, and then go from there. It really depends, like who's got the leverage, who's got the negotiating power. So there's a lot of negotiation skills that have to go on. Or we'll say like, hey, we can give you this, right? This is why we think we want to get it in a lower valuation. And of course, there are hot deals where it's just people are just going to pay the highest dollar amount, and everyone's just scrapping for allocation at that point. So it's not those deals that all the VCs try to jump into always win. I mean, they may have a higher chance, but I've seen just as many companies doing that fail versus win.
And you say that you guys like to be at $1 million or so. What kind of syndication do you like to see in a firm that you're investing in? You want them to sell 30% of the company, or where are you kind of on that?
Yeah, so for seed, we on average see a company give up 10 to 20% equity at that stage. We don't want them to give too much, because then you will start worrying about how much the founder owns by Series C, D, E. Of course, it depends on industry. So, for example, a very capital-intensive company will be giving up a lot more early versus, let's say, a software company. But we're typically looking in that percentage range. In terms of syndication, we like to work with other investors that we know. It's unfortunate, but I've developed a kind of a blacklist of investors that I prefer not to work with because of bad behavior. But investors we know and trust and we know are going to be able to help them, and particularly a investor set that might be diverse, right? Like if we're technology, maybe someone is good in retail and someone else is good in like marketing, then it's a good set that can help the company grow, as opposed to, say, we have 5 investors who all know just one specific area.
Thanks for coming. Sorry I was a bit late. I was just curious, do you have geographic diversification? Are you basically here in the Valley? And then related to diversification, do you just focus on tech, or do you have other types of deals?
It's a good question. So our portfolio is 60% Bay Area, 40% outside Bay Area. We've always been that way. Originally, it was not because of valuation reasons. It was just there's good technology all across the country, right? There's obviously MIT and Harvard and Boston. There's stuff in Chicago, New York, UT Austin, things like that. So we're always looking at places where there are good technologies, good sets of people, and a good core base where they can grow their company. In terms of what we look at within technology is very broad. So we don't do pharmaceuticals, biotech, or life sciences because that's just a different beast. But there's 4 areas we're looking at right now. One is the connected industry, which is like IoT, robotics, transportation. There's network technologies like 5G, edge computing, security. Then we do artificial intelligence, which is obviously a buzzword, but we particularly like computer vision, natural language processing, things that are actually taking or generating data as opposed to just having some algorithm that computes the data. And then we do, because of my partner's expertise, we do medical devices and diagnostics, and so that's an area that's become pretty hot lately, AI in healthcare.
Yeah, so maybe just to follow up, how do you think about sourcing those deals outside of kind of your local network? And then how would you characterize maybe your competitive advantage in what is obviously a competitive space?
Yeah, so for companies outside the Bay Area, like I said, we do a lot of outbound search, so we look for people outside Silicon Valley. We obviously have a lot of connections in these different areas. I wouldn't say we have like a formal scout program, let's say Sequoia does, but we do a lot of connections, and our advantage to a lot of these people is like they want insights from the Silicon Valley firm, right? So that we can be their connections to Silicon Valley. And then of course, because we already have a lot of founders around the country, they're one of our best sources of deals, right? They're always vouching for us and saying, hey, you should take a look at these teams or these companies.
Yeah, got it.
Can you talk about how do you go about sourcing funds and experience of working with companies?
Yeah, that's a great question. So he asked about how we get our funding and working with them. So just like companies need to raise money, we need to raise money unless somehow I'm so wealthy that I can put all my money into a fund, which is a bad strategy anyways. So I mean, typically, particularly for early funds, most of the LPs tend to be high net worth or family office based. And then obviously as you become more established, you get more institutional funding. So for us, we're primarily, this is Fund 2, high net worth, family office. We do have some small fund of funds, and our LP base is pretty much all around the world actually. We've got US, Canada, Europe, different parts of Asia. And a lot of times, obviously cash is cash, but you also want your LPs to be somewhat useful and strategic to you as well. So a lot of our LPs are actually really good connectors into different markets or different industries, which can help our companies or provide some insights. Because we ask them like, hey, what are you seeing in your industry? What should we be looking at? So we try to make it useful both directions. Now, obviously, depending on how people look at it, that could be a potentially higher maintenance, I guess, task on working with your LPs. And so that's why a lot of people do go institutional because, you know, these people write checks from multiple funds. They don't call you up. They just get your quarterly report and annual meetings. So I think it's good to have a mixture of both. And so, as I was saying earlier, you know, being able to show, you know, exits is really good to get some of these LPs on board. I would say the one challenge is, it's not true across the board, but like what an institutional investor looks for within the VC fund is actually different than maybe what a high net worth and family office looks for. Institutional investor, they just want to give you a chunk of money and in 10 years you give them 3x back. Whereas a high net worth and family office, they're a little bit more cash flow sensitive, so they're a little bit more like, focused on IRR, for example. So let's say I have a company that gets sold for, let's say, 3x within 1 year. I'm sure the high net worth family office would love that. Institutional investors, like, what am I going to do with this money now? And it's not going towards the multiple of the fund. So you have to kind of balance like what the LPs are looking for in the fund.
Quick follow-up, like how do you profile them and how do you approach them? Like, what are the initial steps that you take?
Yeah. It's when people, entrepreneurs who say, oh, you've been fundraising for your company before, so this is not anything new. I tell them like this, it's a completely different beast. Because when you're a company, you know who all the VCs are. When you're a VC, you know who some of the LPs could be, but literally anyone can be an LP. And a lot of particularly high net worth family office, they don't want to be known. So, you know, sussing them out, finding them, a lot of it's hustle and networking. A lot of it's like, just do they understand how venture works? Some people have asked us like, what's our annual return rate? And like, you get return when we get your returns. And then of course, you know, just getting introductions from other VCs, other LPs. It's just a very person and network-based process. And I heard this from some other VCs. I didn't believe it until we went through it. Someone told me like, you know, you'll talk to about 700 LPs before you raise your fund. And looking at our database, it was about 700 LPs that we talked to. It's doing the roadshow for a fundraise is pretty grueling.
So given the sheer amount of networking you have to do for deal sourcing as well as fundraising, like what are your, like, how much is in your head? How much is in a database? Like, what are the tools and techniques you use to manage all these conversations or potential conversations?
So I know some people who are just OCD about putting stuff into Salesforce database CRM. We have some, I would say, rudimentary CRM for our both deal flow and LPs, but to be honest, it's basic. A lot of it's in my head, just because it could take forever to enter anything in. But it's useful to have because you know, I have an 18-month-old daughter, and so my memory is just horrible. I don't get enough sleep. But you have to know people on the spot and things right away.
What's a day in the life? It's a week in the life. It's a month in the life. You've got an 18-month-old daughter. Like, you spending your life on airplanes, talking to LPs, and then talking to deals, or you working out of your house? Are you coming to the city? What's going on?
Yeah, I tell people that my typical days, I don't even know what goes on typical day because it's always different. It's just so different. One day I can literally have no meetings. The next day I could be just literally meetings from like 7 a.m. to midnight. but it's definitely a lot of meetings with people, whether it's investors, LPs, or entrepreneurs, right? There's nothing beats face time and meeting with people. So when we're fundraising, yes, definitely on a plane a lot. My partner, she does a lot of international fundraising, and so she is really on a plane. So I don't envy the task that she has. But definitely meeting a lot of people, definitely a lot of meetings. It makes it hard to get any work done. So that's why I do most of my emailing and work between the hours of like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. I would say meeting a lot of companies, trying to read when I can. This is what I was saying. For investors, you're just very scatterbrained. You're just trying to do so many things at the same time, and most teams are lean, so you kind of have to do things yourself. And your junior team is already busy enough as it is. So, but really, a lot of meetings, a lot of meeting people, talking, catching up, networking.
Do you like the evolution of your career from academician to startup to VC?
Good question. People have asked, like, oh, would I ever go back to being an entrepreneur? It's actually not that uncommon. You'll see a lot of VC entrepreneurs kind of go back and forth. I'm committed to this job for at least the next 10 years because I'm in the funds now. But will I become an entrepreneur later again? I don't know. I mean, if a good opportunity and idea comes up and I feel like no one's working on it, then possibly. But right now, I think I'm still learning a lot. It's a very interesting job. I still haven't seen a lot of the cycle yet. We're still like mid-fund, and it'll be interesting to see the end of the fund where I'm seeing companies get harvested. Some hopefully good exits and seeing the successes that come out of that.
I want to be mindful of time because I know there's a class coming in. So I don't know if we want to do one more question, and then we're here till just before 2. So if you want to come up and ask questions, we're happy to do that. But one last question, or you want to wrap it up? Okay, well then I think that's it. Thank you so much, Homan, for sharing your wisdom with us. Can we give him a round of applause? And thanks so much to Wharton for being able to host this Advancing Women Product Speaker Series. So we're happy to be here with all of you. So please come up and ask questions. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were pretty funny. You were pretty funny. Your question. Since like the name of the book is how to sell your
I didn't hear how $1
Oh, really? Is it worth it?
Me?
So make some calls. Join your local.
No, did I ask a question?
No, I mean, talking.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well, she's asking me. Yeah.
Feel that thing like you're Are you ready to explain it?
Yeah, but I think we see. No, you know, I mean, it's easy to do that.